Hello and welcome to the Clock and Talk, an Arsenal podcast. Thank you for listening. Thank you for downloading. I'm your host, Tez, each and every week. Tony, how are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. It's a shame Schwinn couldn't join us this week. I think after the backlash he got last week, even though he wasn't involved, has probably scared him away for a bit, but hopefully we can get him out of his comfort zone soon. Speaking about last week, we obviously got quite a bit of backlash on Twitter. And we're not going to speak about the subjects too much because, let's be honest, they're not really Arsenal related. But I just have a quick message that I wanted to say about last week's podcast.
From the bottom of my heart, I'd like to take this chance to apologise to absolutely nobody.
They're obviously the words of Conor McGregor, but I couldn't have said it better myself, so Conor just said it for me.
Sounds good, mate. Okay, yeah, I'm not even going to get drawn up into that, so we'll move right along. World Cup, that's our last time we recorded podcast was before the semi-finals, and football was coming home, Tony.
Yeah, it's been a long time since we recorded. When we recorded, football was definitely coming home. Now it's not, obviously. You jinxed us by saying we'd win. Which obviously you knew was going to happen.
Geez, you sounded so sad then when you said no, it's obviously not.
Yeah, no, I mean, most people, the vast majority of people, didn't actually think we was going to win it. But it did unite the country, and everyone here was happy. And if obviously you're not in England, but no one's ever happy. So to have people that actually talk to each other and enjoying each other's company and having a laugh, which really isn't common, it was just such a feel-good thing. As I said, I at no point believed we was going to win it, as you know. But it was good to have everyone happy and excited and having something to look forward to. In all honesty, Croatia deserved to beat us. They had a much better team. I thought we was very poor. We should have gone 2-0 up. And had we gone 2-0 up, the game was over. Kane should have scored. And that's it. That would have been England in the final. But should have and would have, if my uncle would have a vagina, it'd be my aunt. So yeah, it was disappointing, but Croatia deserved it. I just would like to take one moment to be smug, and anyone that's listened to us for a while, listen to my prediction before the World Cup. I didn't obviously think England would get as far as they did, but pretty much how I said we was going to play was true. Trippier and set pieces, and kick and run. That's literally all we done the whole tournament. So I don't always get things right, but at this occasion, when I have got something right, I'm going to gloat about it. Yeah, so that's my claim to fame. I predicted how England were going to play 6 weeks ago, and I was correct.
Bang on the money, mate. In saying that, and I'll just touch quickly on England. For me, they weren't that disappointing. Like, okay, and when I say weren't that disappointing, did anyone actually think that you were going to get as far as you did? Like, what was the vibe over there?
No, so before the tournament, no one thought we was going to get anywhere. But I think it was just the way we went out where we did have chances. I kept saying to people, that is the best chance we're ever going to have in my lifetime, just because of the way the draw went and everything. And we keep hearing now, you beat a load of rubbish teams, but we're forgetting Sweden topped Germany's group with Germany and Mexico. Colombia were never a bad team, but suddenly, because we beat them, they became awful overnight. I don't know about the perception worldwide, but this is what we're hearing here, we only beat rubbish teams. Granted, we had a slightly easier group than other teams. But Colombia are by no means a bad side. Sweden made hard life for everyone. I mean, Germany beat them in the 97th minute, I think it was. So we did have a nice draw. It's not as easy as everyone's making out. But before the tournament, no one had any expectations. And when all the "it's coming home" stuff started, it was all a big joke. Like, no one believed we was going to do anything. So it was more sarcasm. Like, oh, did you see the England game? Yeah, it's coming home. And then as we got further through the tournament, and I don't think people started really to believe it, but it gave us something to get behind. Like, and as you know, like, I was saying it at the end of every sentence as a joke, and that's what it was. It was a joke the whole way through. It wasn't people like, oh, seriously, it's coming home. No one was going to put betting big money on it or getting tattooed. I think one guy got a tattoo of it, but you always get one idiot. There's probably an Australia fan that got world champion tattooed on him. Oh.
Fuck off.
Yeah, no, you know what I mean? There's always one idiot that does it, but no one actually expected anything. I think I said before the tournament, last 16 would have been kind of what I expected, and we got further than that. But it is just disappointing because of the chance we had.
Mm-hmm. Now we'll get into the final, France-Croatia. Look, it was pretty much France's tournament, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we've got to start with one big point, and I tweeted this as it was happening. For me, never in a million years was that a penalty. And I tweeted it at the time as the refs was going to VAR. It was before he'd given it, but I just tweeted not for me, like as in for me that's never a penalty.
Yep.
And I was surprised that quite a lot of followers tweeted back saying, "Oh, for them it definitely was." And Savvy, who used to obviously be on the podcast, and quite a few people were coming through with valid arguments. I'm not saying they were wrong, but I was very surprised. And when I spoke to some players, obviously not top level players, but when I spoke to some players and I looked on Twitter and all the pundits, they were all saying not a penalty. And I was surprised at how strong some people's views were that it was a penalty. I can understand where they're coming from. As I said, for me, it was never in a million years. But all the polls I've seen have been sort of like 80-20, not a penalty. But some people did have some very good points. But yeah, for me, I'm not going to say it ruined the final because it was a very good game with or without the VAR penalty. But for me, I would be distraught if that was given against us.
Yeah, look, I agree with everything you said there. I don't think I even challenged you on it because for me it wasn't a penalty either. But out of that game, there was also a bit of talk about Griezmann, how he done his celebration. He went over and done the Joker dance with the loser up on the forehead. That seemed to get a little bit of backlash as well. What was your thoughts on that?
Look, I mean, he does it all the time. It annoys me. Of course it annoys me. But that's just his celebration. It's what he does. It's from Fortnite, the game. I don't play it. Someone younger than me told me that. It's from the game.
Okay.
But, yeah, it is what it is. It's the same as I don't particularly like Jesse Lingard dabbing or Jesse Lingard doing whatever stupid dance he done, the Millie Rock he done at the Emirates, or his stupid little thumbs up thing he does. Or, you know what I mean? There's loads of players' celebrations like flossing. Flossing's half entertaining, but it's the same thing. It's from Fortnite, the game. So everyone was flossing. If you're uncool and old like me, Google what a floss is if you don't know. But loads of players would do it, and Griezmann just chose another celebration from the game. I don't particularly like it, but I don't think it's backlash worthy. He done it at the Emirates when he scored against us. It's not. I don't really think it's a talking point. Yeah.
Okay. Now, one other thing, Giroud, obviously, he was an Arsenal player for many years. We love Giroud. I take the piss out with a couple of mates, Glenn in particular. But, he's an Arsenal player, and we do have a question on it later, but I won't go too much into it. But what was your thoughts on his whole tournament? There was a fair bit going around that hasn't had a shot on target, didn't score a goal. There was others missed out on the opportunity.
No, I mean, look, to be honest, he does a job. He's not really there as a goal scorer. When you've got Griezmann and Mbappe behind or to the side of you, and then you've got the running power in midfield of a Pogba and a Matuidi, he's there to occupy defenders, give them other players space. It means they can go long if they have to. He can hold the ball up. He gives defenders physical presence to think about. Look, in an ideal world, of course he'd want to score goals, but I think he'd done the job he was there to do. And it's quite interesting that both times France have won the World Cup, their main striker hasn't scored. I forget the guy's name, who in '98 it began with G. I can't remember his name, and he only ever played 14 times for France. But I think he played every game in that World Cup, didn't score, but he'd done that job. And interestingly, obviously, Deschamps played in that team, so it's like he's kind of moulded this team on the team that he won the World Cup with, and Giroud is that guy playing the same role. As I said, of course he would want to score and want to have shots on target, but at the end of the day, he'd rather come away with the World Cup winners medal, and I don't think anyone can criticise. And also, I'm not sure, but who is it? Mbappe got his first goal against Peru, I think it was, where Giroud had a shot, and I think it was going in before Mbappe touched it about a yard or two out. Obviously, it doesn't count as a shot on target because someone else has had a shot on target off the back of it. But I mean, if you want to look at things like that, I think that probably was going in. So, not that it doesn't bother me, and it wouldn't bother him. He couldn't care less. He's got a World Cup winners medal hanging around his neck.
Yeah. Now, obviously, we haven't got Schwinn here, so we can't really go through our predictions and things because I can't even remember who we said or what we said. Obviously, Mbappe, he deserved the youngest player of the tournament. Who else would the awards go to? Harry Kane, he got the Golden Boot. No arguments there. And
well, you can't argue that. I just want to bring that up quickly because, again, I don't want to defend the Tottenham player, but there's been so much press here, and I don't know if you've had it elsewhere, and I've seen it a lot on Twitter saying, "Oh, worst Golden Boot ever, winner ever, 3 penalties, two headers from inside the 6-yard box, and a deflection." But he's got 6 goals. I think second was Griezmann with 4. There was a few players with 4, but Griezmann was second with 4. 3 penalties and the biggest goalkeeping mistake of the tournament against Uruguay. Then Lukaku got 4 in the first 2 games against Panama and Tunisia. He got 4 goals and then didn't score after that. So sort of, if you're going to start saying he doesn't deserve it due to the quality of his goals, which is absolute nonsense anyway, but then you've got to start looking to who came 5th, 6th and 7th to start saying, oh, you got the Golden Boot, because you only got half the amount of goals that Kane did, but they were of better quality. It's nonsense. You score goals, you score goals. It is what it is.
Yeah, and something about Kane, he just knows how to score, and he's always there. There was 3 penalties, wasn't there?
Yeah, 3 penalties, one deflected off his heel as well, which he didn't know anything about. Yeah, people discrediting the headers because they were close to the goal. You have to be in that position and you have to have them reactions. And it's not even been like Arsenal fans just trying to discredit him because he plays for Tottenham. I've seen people just completely discredit him. 6 goals, but yeah, they're rubbish goals. So I don't think he deserves the Golden Boot. And the Golden Boot is fact. You scored more goals than anyone else. And again, I'm not even defending him because he's English. I just think I think he had an awful tournament, to be honest. I don't think he played well. But to say he doesn't deserve it because the quality of his goals wasn't enough, for me, is the biggest load of nonsense ever. It's like, I mean, look, Ronaldo got 4th. He was joint 2nd. He got them in the first 2 games, the same as Lukaku. But he got a hat-trick against Spain. One was a huge goalkeeping mistake. One was a penalty, great free kick. And then he got a header from inside the 6-yard box in the next game. So, again, would people say, Ronaldo doesn't deserve to be joint 2nd because his goals were rubbish and against in the first 2 games as well? Like, with the Golden Boot, it's fact. You scored more goals than anyone else. You don't need to look at how they came and why they happened. He got more goals than anyone else. That's it.
Now, who was obviously Germany, they were the team that disappointed the most. Is there another team that comes to mind quickly?
I mean, Argentina somewhat, because I don't think they impressed in any game. I thought they were lucky to get through their group. They were embarrassed by Croatia. Obviously drew with Iceland. Good game against Nigeria, lucky to get through, late goal. And then France, the 4-3, it kind of looks close on paper, but I don't think there was after France equalised to make it 2-2, I don't think there was ever any doubt from there who was going to win it. So obviously not on Germany levels, but I thought Argentina failed to live up to the benchmark everyone expected.
What was your best game you saw?
Probably Spain, Portugal, or Belgium, Brazil, even though it was low scoring. I thought the quality of that was very good too on Belgium. But that Spain game was exceptional. I remember saying at the time, I've said it on the podcast, I think I tweeted it, I couldn't remember the last time I'd seen a game of that quality. It wasn't just that there was a lot of goals. The quality of the whole game, the possession football from Spain, the counter-attacking football from Portugal. Obviously, Ronaldo scored a joke of a free kick at the end to add the drama, and an 87th minute equaliser. Nacho's goal was insane. I think it was just one of them games that sort of had everything.
Yep. Just a standout player, someone that you thought, not in the finals, just throughout the tournament, that you thought, he was good.
It's difficult. I was trying to think before the game, and I think I messaged you and Schwinn and said, who wins the Golden Ball? And it was the day before the final, I think I said it. And Schwinn said Griezmann, which I don't think Griezmann had a good tournament. I really rate Griezmann, but I don't think he had a brilliant tournament. Obviously, Modric won it, and I can see why he played well. But I don't know. I don't know if I would have given it to him. But then you say, who would you given it to? And I don't know the answer to that either. For me, I think had Mbappe been 25, I think he would have won it. I think they don't want to give it to someone to have both.
Yep. Yeah.
But I think if he was already an established pro and done what he did, had say a Gareth Bale done that and Wales went to the final and won it, Gareth Bale would win it without a shadow of a doubt. So for me, I think there's a strong argument for Mbappe getting it. But Modric was excellent. There's no taking that away from him.
Last World Cup, there was, James Rodriguez. He was the type of the player that everyone went well about. I thought Golovin for Russia. He was really good. He's top of that player now who's come out that everyone wants to buy in the transfer window. Is there another player that comes to mind for you?
Not really. I mean, look, some people knew about Golovin before. As I've said it on here before, I don't think he underperformed in the World Cup. I think he was very good, but I think he's shown a higher level, although against worse opposition, for Moscow. I prefer him playing a bit deeper, whereas he played as a 10 for Russia. I personally prefer him a bit deeper. I'd imagine Cheryshev will probably get a move off the back of the World Cup. In England, all the talks about Harry Maguire. I thought he had an excellent tournament. Again, I'm not just saying it because I'm English. I thought Maguire was pretty much excellent in every game. I don't think that there's not been like a James-like standout. I think all of the players that, even when we just mentioned in the Golden Ball, obviously James, everyone thought he should have won it. They gave it to Messi because Adidas sponsored it pretty much, but everyone thought James deserved it. Whereas this year, when you look at who we've just discussed as deserving the Golden Ball, you've got Modric, who's already at Real Madrid, and Mbappe, who's currently the second or third most expensive player ever. So I don't think there was like a real surprise breakout. Yeah.
Excuse me. Now, just quickly, Arsenal players of the World Cup. Anyone there that you thought, well, I'm looking for a good season, especially the new signings?
I mean, to be honest, I think it's quite not a disappointing tournament for Arsenal players, but there was no standout performances. I thought Lichtsteiner done quite well against Neymar in the first game, because we all know how hard Neymar can be to defend against. If he doesn't beat you, he's going to go down and usually gets a free kick. So I thought Lichtsteiner done well there. Xhaka had a good game against Serbia. Welbeck only played 10 minutes. El Neni, Egypt lost every game. So I'm not saying he played badly, but you're not going to have a standout performance when you've lost every game.
Yeah.
So I don't really think it was a good tournament for Arsenal players, to be honest.
Yeah. And lastly, on the World Cup, what was your goal of the tournament?
For me, I can't even see any argument in this. It was Pavard against Argentina. I literally think it was outrageous. Nacho's goal was very similar, and for me that would be second. But I thought Benjamin Pavard's was better. When I tweeted that out, the vast majority of people said Pavard 1, Nacho 2. Yeah. Interestingly, I tweeted it because at half-time in the final, the BBC was showing, I think they showed 10 or 12 goals to choose from, and then their panel at full-time chose what they thought it was, and they gave it to Chadli against Japan, which was a good goal, but for me, it doesn't even come close.
Mm-hmm. What a month of football, huh?
Yeah, I miss it immediately, straight away, because I've literally just sat at home watching football for a month. So it's annoying with the World Cup, because if you have a really good weekend of Premier League football, it's okay, there's more games in, either the midweek or the worst case in 1 week, there's more games, the next weekend.
Yeah.
Whereas with the World Cup, it's the next time I'm actually going to care about international football is the Euros in 2 years. And for you guys who, you don't really care about the Asia Cup or whatever it is you play in, it's the only international football you've got to care about is hopefully you qualify for the World Cup in 4 years.
Yeah. I'll keep an eye on it. I enjoy the Euros as well, because I obviously enjoy the World Cup. But just quickly, I just noticed Iceland, they had a terrible tournament compared to what they did in the Euros, didn't they?
Yes and no. They had a hard group. They drew with Argentina, and then lost to Nigeria and Croatia. There's obviously no shame in losing to Croatia. Nigeria was maybe a bit of a shock, but I think you got to remember in the Euros the way that they changed the format. 3 teams went through from every group, so they went through. They played England, who were awful, beat us deservedly. And then everyone just assumed they were a good team, and they lost the next round. I think they lost 5-2 to France. Again, no shame in losing to France, but they essentially had one win that anyone remembers, and it was against England. They done well. I'm not taking anything away from it. It was a very poor England side. You got to remember we had Harry Kane on set pieces.
Yeah. You guys, and you were pretty critical at the start of Southgate picking his England team at the start as well. You obviously thinking, it's a pretty good team for the future?
I think every criticism I had still stands. We still didn't have a footballer. Against that Croatia game, it needed someone to hold on to the ball. And look, I don't rate Jordan Henderson, as anyone that listens will know, but and I thought he had an excellent tournament up until that game, up until the semi, and where we needed someone to try and keep the ball. And he kept just kicking the ball into the corners. It was like he's playing rugby. It was like playing for territory. I'll get him in the corner and try and box him in. And I think that game was calling out for a Jack, a Shelby, a Lallana, even Loftus-Cheek sitting on the bench. I know they don't play as deep as Henderson, and Henderson does a different job, but we needed someone to get their foot on the ball. Lingard impressed me through the tournament with like his third man running and his running power. But we didn't need to run against them. We just needed someone that could actually hold the ball. And I think everyone highlighted that when Southgate picked the squad, and it took longer to hurt us than expected, but it did in the end hurt us. Southgate done a lot of things that impressed me as well, and I didn't expect him to. The way he got everyone fighting together, his set piece, you can't argue with the way he set up set pieces, because we were the most dangerous team in the tournament from set pieces. I felt like we was going to score every time we had a corner, and I know the fans of the other teams playing against us, and even the managers were like, this is going to be dangerous every time England get a wide free kick or a corner. So you've got to give Southgate some credit. But I think all the mistakes we highlighted at the start of the tournament were still there.
Okay, that's about it on our World Cup. And like I said, I haven't got what we predicted. I do vaguely remember you saying Egypt will have a bad tournament. I think you also said no Salah. Something along them lines as well about Salah, but which he had that one game, he scored one goal, but that was about it.
No, he got two in two games, so it'd probably be a bit harsh to say he had a bad tournament. But as a nation, losing all 3 games, I don't think you can really argue that with saying they had a bad tournament. I think, and I'm not just saying this, it's only because I had not much money on them, but I had a small bet on France. So I'd imagine I remember us all sort of saying, well, you didn't, but me and Schwinn, I think we both said, I think I said Germany and France. I was looking to go deep. Again, I'm not saying that because they won. I think that's what I said at the time. I may be wrong, but I had a little bet on them, so I'd imagine that's what I said. Otherwise, that would have been a stupid bet.
I think I said Uruguay, they were going to be a dark horse, which they had a pretty good tournament, but you heard they go out against France, didn't they?
Yeah, 2-0.
2-0, so yeah. Anyway, that's our World Cup edition, and you know, we've been covering it each podcast, and we're going to miss it because I've enjoyed talking a bit of World Cup with you boys as well. So now moving on to Arsenal, because it's going to be all Arsenal from here on in, and we had a game during the week. I think it was when the semi-final of the World Cup was on, Tony. No, not the semi.
The third, fourth playoff.
So Boreham Wood, we beat them, what, 8-0?
Yeah, very. He said, to be fair, he did say he wanted to see his players, so he was going to play a strong lineup. We tend to play them most years because we play our reserve games or our under-23 games there, and if we're at home in Europe and the under-23s or under-21s have a European game, they play it at Boreham Wood. So I think it's part of the agreement of us using their ground that we have a friendly with them most years. But it's usually described as an Arsenal 11. And it's made clear that, like, even to fans buying tickets, that it's not Arsenal, it's an Arsenal 11. Right. So yes, that like you tend to see most of those youth players that are going to be playing there throughout the season. But Emery made it clear that he wanted to see his players, so it was Arsenal. And so I mean, it was a bit of a mix. Everyone played. Everyone that was fit has played. Leno didn't, apart from Leno, because he came to training late. It wasn't his fault. He was given an extra week off. But yeah, everyone played. I mean, we're starting against a conference side with Aubameyang and Lacazette in the team. There's always going to be, I mean, you're going to expect a comfortable win.
I didn't see the game because I think it was on Arsenal Player, and it was, anyway, there might have been a few other people that probably didn't see it. What was the lineup, mate? And what was the formation?
I can't remember the exact lineup off the top of my head, but the front three was Aubameyang left, Lacazette 9, and Nelson on the right. Emil Smith-Rowe started and played very well. Mavropanos and Socrates were the centre-backs. Cech in goal, Bellerin right-back, Maitland-Niles, Willock, and Emil Smith-Rowe were in midfield. And then Osei Tutu played left-back, who's not really a left-back, but we only had one, and obviously he wanted. We played two different teams in each half, so they had to force someone to play left back, and it happened to be Osei Tutu.
Yeah, usually these games I don't take a lot of or much away from. 8-0. Obviously, I know nothing about Bournemouth. Anything you need to go on this game, or because I take absolutely nothing from it. It's a friendly for me, and that's about it.
Yeah, I think it'd be stupid to look too deep into it. It's our first friendly as well. There was players that looked good, and there was players that didn't look so good. One of them was Socrates. Didn't look great, and I know we've got a question on it. That's the only reason I bring it up. But it's his first game in a new country. He's only really had a week and a bit of pre-season. So you can't, as much as I'm not going to praise Aubameyang for getting a hat-trick, because let's be honest, it's meaningless, I'm not going to hammer Socrates for not looking great. What I will say is Aubameyang looked very, very sharp. Not that he didn't last season, but he looked like he'd been in pre-season longer than everyone else.
Yeah, right.
He looked electric. He looked up for it. And I'm not saying he didn't, as I said, he always looked up for it, but he didn't look like it was his first game back after pre-season. He looked like he had already hit his stride. Well,
okay. I'm actually going to have a little side bet for him. I reckon he'll be the top goal scorer in the Premier League this year. I don't know what the odds are, but I'm going to have a bet on that. So each and every week we ask our listeners to give us a call and join us on Skype and ask a question. You too can get in on that. You can hit us up on Skype. You can see our links and whatnot and follow us at @clockhand_talk. This week we have two guests with us, or two listeners I should say, Chibi and Vish. Chibi, how are you, mate?
I'm doing good, man. How you doing?
Yeah, good, mate. Good. Thank you for listening, mate.
Awesome, yeah.
I hope you're enjoying it. What's your question, mate?
I was just going to say, if you guys could trade Alex Iwobi and Lacazette for like a real winger, like Zaha maybe, would you do it? What do you guys think? I just think I was watching Zaha a lot last season, and I know he's not a big name. He's not as fancy as people want us to go, but I think he could be like a good addition to our team for sure. And I've been thinking if we could like trade Welbeck and Iwobi and who knows, even Lacazette, I would like take Zaha. What do you guys think about that? Do you think we can do better, or
what do you think, Tony?
My issue with Zaha is where he's a star man at Palace, it gets overlooked that he can dribble at his defender 10 times, and if he loses it 8 times, they'll remember the 2 times because they're a smaller club and he's their star man. Whereas
fair point, but the numbers just say otherwise, though. I mean, don't quote me on this, but I think it's the numbers like Zaha has the most successful dribbles in the league in the last 2 years or something like that. I think he's even above Hazard in that. I think he takes on more people per game than anybody else in the league. I think by far too. I think he attempts and he's successful more times than anyone else in the league. So I think he might be.
Yeah, okay. I get what you're saying, but there's 2 caveats to that. You are right, but one, the attempts is because they attack through him. The ball goes to him, so literally he's going to attempt more. In terms of success, I think. Look, I'm not taking anything away from him. I think he's a good player, but against Palace, teams will give Palace more space because they're going to be trying to attack Palace. So and it means he can use his pace to beat players. Look, he is very tricky, and I'm not denying that, but he can knock it and run, and he's very quick. Whereas when you're a top side, they don't have that space to knock it and run, or they'll double up on you. And then I think your end product comes into it more, which is an area where he's definitely improved, but it has been a big negative of his through the years. Look, is he better than an Iwobi or a Welbeck? For sure. Would I pay the probably 50, 60 million they want for him? I think for that money, you can probably get someone better. In terms of with Lacazette, and I don't know how long you've been listening, I'm not a huge Lacazette fan. He has had games where he's been excellent, but I struggle with a lot of the things he does. But it would leave us with one striker if he was to go. And then if anything did happen to Aubameyang, you'd be left with Welbeck or Lucas or someone having to play every game as your focal point. And at this stage, we really don't want that at Arsenal. So I wouldn't be looking to get rid of Lacazette. Zaha, I do rate, and I wouldn't mind at Arsenal, but I think for the kind of money you're looking at, I think there's better options out there.
Okay. Awesome.
I agree though with you, mate. I like Zaha. I really like him. But I think that he was asking though, Tony, because he was looking at a swap deal on Iwobi and Welbeck. But you're saying you'd pay about 50 to 60 million, are you?
Yeah, you've got to look at what his value is to Palace. Forget value, as in what his transfer fee is. You've got to look at what he's worth to them. That's like when a team looks like they're going down, their star player is always worth so much to them because what it's worth to keep that team up. And look, never in a million years they swap Zaha for Iwobi and Welbeck.
But I was gonna say also, like, never in a million years is Crystal Palace gonna get 50 million for Zaha. So I mean, they can say all they want, but they're gonna sell him eventually for like 20 million.
No way. Because look, they're probably relegation candidates without him. In all honesty, and you take you get 80 to 100 million a year for being in the Premier League. So I remember it was a few years ago. I can't remember who it was, and they were quite old, but they were pretty much keeping their team up on their own. And I can't remember who it was. I'm trying to think. And Defoe. It was Defoe at Sunderland the year they stayed.
Yeah.
Someone tried to sign him in January, and they offered 15 million for a 34-year-old, and they said no because he was their only chance of staying up, and it was 80 million to stay in the league. So to them, Defoe was worth 80 million. Similar to Johnny Evans with West Brom in this January just gone. They felt they weren't going to stay up without him. Obviously, they didn't stay up with him in the end, but they were willing to reject 30 million because if he did manage to keep them up, it was worth 80 million to them. Same Gylfi Sigurdsson left Swansea for £50 million. As long as I have a hole in my backside, he is not worth £50 million. But they knew that they were in big relegation trouble without him, so they had to be heavily, heavily compensated. And obviously, I know he plays for Nigeria now, but you've got to add the English tax to Zaha because he's growing up in not Nigeria, sorry, Ivory Coast.
Ivory Coast, yeah.
Yeah, sorry. He's growing up in England. He's used to English football. So not English in terms of nation he represents, but he still comes with that English tax. Obviously, it's not a real tax. We all know what I mean. So literally, I don't think they'd let him go for 50 million. I really don't.
Okay, interesting. Well, Chibi, thanks for your question, mate. And
yeah, man. Yeah, thanks for taking my call.
Great stuff, mate. And thanks for listening as well, buddy. And we'll hopefully catch you next week or something.
Sounds good.
Bye. Good on you, mate. Thanks, mate. Vish, you with us, mate. How are you?
Good, guys. And you guys?
Yeah, good, mate. Good. What's your question, Vish?
It's regarding Lucas Hernandez as a replacement for the aging Nacho Monreal. What do you think of him fitting into our squad? And also, are the rumours of us chasing Kingsley Coleman and Harry Maguire too?
Tony?
On Hernandez, it all depends on how Emery's going to play because I don't think he's attacking enough for Arsenal. He's a good, solid player, but I would call him a defensive left back, in the same way Pavard's a defensive right back. I'm not saying they can't get forward, but I'm saying their main attraction is defending, which is something that Arsenal have maybe needed in years gone by. So it all depends on how Emery's going to play and what type of fullback he gets if Nacho is to leave. So I'm kind of split on Hernandez because I don't know how Emery's going to play things. If you'd have asked me this question last year, I would have said no. In terms of Harry Maguire, in England, he is very strongly being linked with Man United. I think he costs a lot of money, English tax and whatnot, and he's just come off. We was discussing earlier. For me, he was arguably one of England's best players, arguably their best. So he's getting a lot of press right now. Leicester don't need to sell. They've obviously just got 60 million in for Mahrez, so it's going to take probably a similar bid to get him. For me, he's not as good as Mahrez, but they don't need to sell, so the ball's in their court. For me, I think it'll be Man United or no one for Maguire. Look, if you got to say Maguire, Vardy and Mahrez were their three best players last season, maybe Ndidi, put them in the top four, and they won't want to sell two of them in the same window, I'd imagine. And they've never needed money anyway. Their owner is supremely rich, so the money isn't essential to them. They obviously turned down 65 million plus for Mahrez in January, so the money is not needed. So unless Maguire really forces his way out, which he doesn't seem like the type to do, he seems quite humble. It will take a hell of a lot of money to get him. And as I said, I think it'll be United or no one.
Vish, you're still having doubts on obviously Mustafi. That's why you're questioning Maguire to Arsenal. You'd like a replacement there, obviously.
Could you imagine Socrates and Harry Maguire playing together as our centre backs? It would actually destroy and frighten the strikers, opposition strikers.
Yeah.
For me, sorry to jump in.
You're right.
For me, I always think the perfect defence is one monster, one player. Maguire can play, but I think you lack pace with them too. I think you always need someone who has the pace to cover around. I've never liked, and it's not an Arsenal thing, just in general football, I've never liked two players that are similar at centre-back, and it's the reason England play Kyle Walker as one of the three centre-backs, because Stones and Maguire, while both good defenders, neither of them had pace, so they added Walker in there to do the running for the other two. So, yeah, for me, that never works. It's rare to think of teams it has worked, even if you think of the best teams, not just Arsenal, but like, say, the best Man United team was Vidic and Ferdinand, and you had Vidic, who was that animal, would headbutt a wall if he needed to, and then you had Ferdinand, who was quicker and a bit of a player. I think all top defences, they have that mix. As I said, I personally don't like two monsters together.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, thanks for your question, Vish, and thanks for listening as well, mate.
Thanks.
Great stuff, mate. We'll catch up with you, buddy. Cheers, mate.
Cheers.
And thank you for Chibi and Vish for their calls. And you too can give us a call on Skype. You can follow us at @clockend_talk on Twitter, and you'll see all the links in our bio. Tony, we've got a few questions to get through, mate, so we'll get into them. MAA Gunner, he asks, if we were to get the top four, which two teams from the top six are most likely to miss out?
We was obviously speaking before, and I think Chelsea is an interesting case because I wouldn't be surprised if they challenge for the title, and I wouldn't be surprised if they have another season where they're in sort of 10th. Obviously, Sarri's come in very late, so he missed the start of pre-season. Their three best players, in pretty much everyone's opinion, are Hazard, Kante and Courtois, and they've all played in the last weekend of the World Cup, so they're going to be back to pre-season very late, and obviously they're going to be playing a new system. Jorginho's a good signing, but again, they have to get used to playing that system. It'll be interesting to see what they do in the rest of the market. Today, there's been strong links with Golovin, who I thought would go there anyway, just because of the Russian connection. Again, he's a very good player, but it's getting used to a new league and a new system. So Chelsea, I literally just don't know what they're going to do. Obviously, Sarri last season, just when Napoli dropped down to the Europa League, paid no attention to it, played a reserve team, so I wouldn't be surprised if he does that with Chelsea. And then they can fully focus on the league. So I think there's an argument for Chelsea to do well. There's also an argument for them to do very bad. Last season, I said I thought Tottenham would struggle because they were playing 38 away games. I think they're playing 38 away games again this season. I know that they're in their new stadium after the first three games. I think they're playing the first three home games at Wembley, and then the rest at their new ground. But it's not home yet. It's going to be theirs. But in the first year you're there, it's not home. I know from personal experience of the Emirates, it felt weird for the first at least season or at least 6 months. To use a terrible analogy, which I'm very good at, as everyone knows, when you buy a house, it's not your home for a while. You own it, you live there, but it's not your home yet. And I think Tottenham could be a bit like that. But I was wrong about them last season, so we'll see. If someone held a gun to my head and say who's going to drop out for Arsenal to get in the top four, I would say them too. But I mean, I think the Premier League's going to be full of surprises this year.
Yeah, I agree. But over City, they're the team to beat, obviously. Liverpool have also bought well as well. So they're top of the top two for me. And then I suppose it's Arsenal, Man U.
It's tough because United have an art, and especially Mourinho has an art of getting the job done, as we all know. It's his third season there, which never goes well for Mourinho, so that'll be interesting. I don't think the fans will stand for this defensive football much longer without trophies. So it'll be interesting to see if he tries to be more attacking, then they could come unstuck. It's always difficult to judge Man United. And you were saying about City being the team to beat. I completely agree with you. They're already odds on to win the title with the bookies. And I don't know, I could be wrong here, but I think that's the first time that's happened in about 12 years that before a ball's been kicked, someone's odds on. So it shows you what everyone's expecting to happen.
The last two windows, and just quickly on Manchester United, you know, they've obviously bought well, but I'm not even hearing anything that they're linked to anyone of big, you know, that $80 million transfer this window.
Well, I mean, they signed Fred for a 50 odd, so it's
they've
it's
signed
difficult.
him, haven't they? Yeah, Fred.
Yeah, and with United as well, that apart from Pogba, which was obviously huge, you don't really get many leaks, or maybe it's because I'm not involved in Man United Twitter or whatnot, but you don't really see, things just seem to be done, sort of thing, or very, very clear. Even Lukaku, it was like everyone thought he was going Chelsea, and then all of a sudden he was at Man United, sort of thing. You kind of only hear about them when things are in the last 2 days and people are having medicals. Obviously, Sanchez was an exception, but I think we knew more about that from the Arsenal side. And as well, you got to remember with Sanchez, everyone thought he was going City. Mm-hmm. So United, I don't know how it is they go about it, or I don't know if it's just because I don't follow Man United accounts, but it's very rare you hear anything until it's
close to it,
like very close to being done. And I think even the same, like they sold Daley Blind yesterday, and the rumour came out maybe a day or two before, and then 2 days later he's gone, packed up, that's it, he's no longer a United player. So I think United, apart from the major signings, as I said, like Pogba, United are very good at keeping things under wraps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't want to get too involved with them, but yeah, I don't know what they're going to do. Fred, I wonder what he'll be like. Fred.
Remains to be seen.
Yep, okay, MAA Gunner continues. Can you explain this whole... we fucking took the piss when they did the signing. BYD situation. Which
it's very strange. For those of you that don't know, BYD have claimed that basically the guy that made the agreement with Arsenal didn't work for them. He just pretended he rented an office space, called it BYD, and claimed to be a representative of the country, signed the agreement with Arsenal, and yeah, it doesn't work for them. I don't know. The first things first, you'd imagine that for Arsenal to put the logo on the headrest in the dugout, which they did, you'd imagine they would have received at least some of the payment. I would be amazed if they'd done it without receiving a single penny or dollar or dime or whatever currency you use. So that's strange in itself. I don't know. I don't want to accuse anyone of anything, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's just them trying to get out of the deal because they've maybe seen in the first 6 months they've got no business from it, or 6 months, whatever it's been, 4 months, 5 months, and they know the Chinese authorities are always going to be on their side. So I may be very cynical here, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's just them trying to get out of the deal and them going, "Whoa, he didn't work for us. It was he was a con man."
It's a very odd situation, and put yourself in Arsenal's shoes for a minute. I suppose the representatives, they've gone over there, and I'd imagine you'd do a tour of the whole factory, the business and whatnot, and you'd have a good look at it. Arsenal would run their eye over it. Who are they? What are they? We didn't even know who they were. So a company a car manufacturer, they'd bloody, you'd run your eye over it, wouldn't you?
I don't know if you would, because look, if I'm sitting here in England and someone says to me, "I'm going to offer you 10 million a year to put my initials or my company name on your headrest at your ground, and we don't need to particularly do anything else. We're an ethical company, like we're not a slave trade company or whatever. We're a normal company." I don't know how much due diligence Arsenal would actually need to do. Look, I've never heard of them, but they're the biggest manufacturers in the world of electronic vehicles. That could mean that they only work in China, but China's so big that they're still the biggest manufacturer of them. I don't know. I don't know if Arsenal would bother going to do a factory tour and all that, because let's be honest, it's irrelevant. In all of the images, I'd imagine they were photoshopped and not real, but there's BYD vehicles with Arsenal players in it. But again, obviously that's Photoshop, but there's still someone's produced that image and given it to Arsenal to be able to Photoshop.
To use
so again, look, I'm being very cynical here, but my guess, and it is an absolute guess, is that they paid the first part of the instalment, because when I say it's a 10 million payment, it was probably 2.5 million every quarter, so it's 10 million a year. I'd imagine they paid the first 2.5 before they start. Arsenal put the logo on, then they've had absolutely no business from it, or not to the value of £2.5 million. So they've gone, oh, we're not paying that next payment. What are you on about? This has nothing to do with us. And then, as I said, the Chinese courts will always back Chinese companies. Suing a Chinese company, unless you're Chinese yourself, is absolutely pointless, unless you're suing them outside of China. So, again, I'm being very cynical, and I've literally just made that theory up. But I wouldn't be surprised if that's not a million miles from the truth.
But can you buy a car, this car in where you are?
No. Well, I don't. You may be able to get one imported, but you can't. There's not like a BYD showroom. I've never heard of them, the same as you'd never heard of them.
No, okay.
Don't think any, and obviously Schwinn's in America, which is as much, you can like Trump as much or as little as you like. America is clearly a world superpower, and he'd never heard of them either. He had to do the same research we did. So you've got Australia, UK, and America, which you'd say are some of the biggest countries in the world in terms of wealth and importance or whatnot, and none of us had heard of them. And obviously Schwinn spent a lot of his life in India, which again has an economy of 1 billion people, and again he'd never heard of them. So I would imagine they probably only operate in China, but as I said, China's got so many people that even if you only have 1% of the population, it would still make you the biggest electronic car manufacturer in the world by some distance.
Oh, well, MAA gun, let's watch this space, mate, and we'll see how this story unfolds. Jonas 82, a regular, lots of talk about Casitas receiving a big technical director role for Milan soon. Can you see it happening?
I would be very, very disappointed in Gazidis if it did happen. Not because I hold much stead for him, but because he's seemingly, whether it's his fault or not, had a background role and done not much until the last year. In the last year, he's done a lot. But before that, he's seemingly done not much and just received his wages. Then suddenly he gets all the power that people were claiming he wanted, and he's done very well, bringing in Sanlehi, bringing in Sven, bringing in Darren Burgess, the Aussie. Well, he's not Aussie, but he came from A-League or one of your stupid sports.
AFL.
AFL. Yeah. So he's done some very, very good things, and it would seem weird, and I'd be disappointed in him to abandon shit at a time when he's just got given all the power to do what he claimed he wanted to do for the whole time.
I just step in quickly there. I can see the next 10 years, this is his chapter.
Yeah, that's basically what I'm trying to say. So if he's got everything he wants and then jumps ship for a couple more £1 million, and I'm not belittling a couple of million, because I would like a couple of million. But when you seemingly got everything you want, I think it would be very weird to jump ship. I'd be a bit disappointed in him, to be honest.
Especially the fucking Milan. Okay, Jonas also asks, in our first pre-season friendly against Bournemouth, Chambers played as CM. Is this part of the future plans or just a case of lack of players on the day?
I don't think it was lack of players, because we had 23 players and the only... So obviously so it was two teams, which is 22, and then Jeff Rain Adelaide came off 20 minutes into the second half. He came on at half time and only played 25 minutes. And Gwendowsy, or however you say it, came on. So centre midfield was the position where we had most players. I don't know if Emery just wanted to try him there. He has played there before for us. I don't know what it was. Sometimes it's good to get players a run out in a different position. I don't know. We obviously had too many centre-backs as well, because first half it was Mavropanos and Socrates. Second half it was Mustafi and Holding. So someone was going to have to play out of position or not get any minutes at all. So maybe it was just that. Maybe it was just a way to give him minutes. I don't know. I personally, I've seen him play centre midfield before, and I don't like it. I would be surprised if Emery likes it, or if Emery thinks he is able to become that player. And even if he does see that, I mean, I sort of feel like we've got enough players that can play in midfield anyway.
Yeah, there's plenty there. Did I hear or did I read something that Emery is a big fan of Chambers, though?
He said when he signed a new contract, and he'd only signed one in October, so it was only 8 months between signing a new contract, and everyone feels, and I'd probably agree, that that's Emery's told them he wants to tie Chambers down. And I think he said when he signed, obviously the manager always does a little press release, and he said, I really rate Chambers. He's a big part of my first team plans. So, but they're always going to say that. They're not going to say I signed him on a new contract, so I think he's useless, and I just want to get more money for him.
Yeah,
I'm not saying he does, but I'm saying you would never hear them say that. So I don't think you can take much notice of that.
RC or Zeropa Bob, he asks, what was the song the English fans were singing during matches that was to the tune of our Mesut Ozil song, please?
I saw this question come in, and I don't think we were. There's nothing I've heard. I know that we were singing to the tune of Atomic Kitten, looking back on when we first met. Southgate, you're the one, you still turn me on, football's coming home again. But that's not to the tune of the Ozil song. But that's obviously, apart from It's Coming Home, that's the only one that I can think of.
Yeah,
A song that was sort of known that England fans were singing, but yeah, it wasn't to the Ozil tune. Unless he's heard something I haven't, I don't know.
Yeah, okay. Share it with us at Clock End, or our Twitter there, RC. Share it over to us, mate, and give us a look. Savvy, who do you think will leave? And are we expecting any new signings? And are we well equipped in the area according to you guys? You go first.
For me, I still think we need a winger. I think that's clear. There's going to be players go. Our squad's so big. As I said, we had a 23-man squad against Boreham Wood on Saturday, and there's still all of our internationals to come back. So some people are going to have to leave on loan or permanently. And looking at that as well, there wasn't too many youth team players that played. I mean, look, Ainsley started, but he's now a first team player. He's in the first team squad, I mean. Osei Tutu, Willock, Nketiah, Nelson, Emil Rose-Smith. You can say, okay, they're not in the first team, but that's 5. So you take out, we had 23, you take out them 5, and you go, it's an 18-man squad, but then I think there's 7 or 8 to come back, if you include Leno. So,
well, the Spooner's got to go.
Yeah, but again, he wasn't in that thing.
In that pre-game, okay. Yeah. Right.
So for me, the numbers are going to have to come down. Look, I mean, we can all take a guess at people like Ospina going. There's obviously strong rumours about Nacho, which I wouldn't be too impressed with, but they are what they are.
That young keeper Martinez, he'll probably go on loan.
Well, one of him or Macy will go, but again, Macy wasn't involved in that game the other day. Martinez played a half, Czech played a half.
Yep. Wouldn't it be a spin out if Czech went and Ospina stayed?
Yeah, I think because Ospina wants more playing time, Czech's only going to have a year or 2 left, so you can see that out wherever. I think Ospina's more likely to go, and then one of Macy or Martinez, maybe potentially only even alone.
And who have we got in the backs? We've got Carl Jenkinson, Rob Holding.
Yeah, so Jenko played. Jenko played on the second half on Saturday. You'd imagine he'd go somewhere. But I don't know. As I said, I think that there's obvious outs. You look at Joel Campbell's going to go. Perez, we're a bit 50-50 with.
Are we still paying Joel Campbell, are we?
Yeah, he's got a year left.
Jesus Christ. Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, look, there is some outs to come. I think the only
do we keep Mafropanos?
I would imagine so.
Yeah, okay.
I think it will be, as I said, I think we need a winger. We'll have to sign a centre midfielder if Ramsey goes. But beyond that, I think it's only pretty much the obvious outs.
Just looking who else. Elneny, he'll stay. Niles will stay. Do we know how to pronounce this new kid's name yet?
I think it's Gwendowsy, but I'm not sure.
Gwendowsy, okay. Yeah, that does sound right. Willock, he'll probably go. You said
well,
that.
I'm not really counting him because he's not going to be in the first team squad. Whether he's at Arsenal or not, he's not going to be. He may train with the first team, but he's not going to be in your 18 on a match day unless there's serious injuries.
Danny Welbeck and Iwobi.
Don't know. Welbeck's only got a year left. I don't think Iwobi's got too long either, but there was rumours that he's in contract talks towards the end of last season. So I don't know. As I said, the squad's going to be trimmed. Where is trimmed? It depends on what Emery likes, so that remains to be seen.
Any more? Do expecting any more new signings? He's also asked.
As Emery said himself, if there's a big signing to be made, he'll do it. I think we need a winger. I think most people think we need a winger. As I said, I think if Ramsey goes, someone will come in, and I think we may sign a winger. I'm not saying 100%. I would love us to sign a winger. I think we need to sign a winger, but I'm not saying it's 100% going to happen.
Look, going on what Emery said and going on what everyone else thinks is we need a winger. So we're only echoing your thoughts as well. Dembele, he's the the only big one you can think of. Is there another one?
I mean, look, they're smaller names than Dembele, but
yeah, but I'm going off. Emery said if something, does he mean a big signing or does he mean a good a good deal for Arsenal?
I don't know, because if you say, for example, if you say someone like Chucky Lozano or Herving Lozano or Christian Pavon, they're over £40 million. So for us, for Arsenal, that's a big signing. Yeah, they don't hold they're not the name that Dembele is. But personally, if I was saying that statement, I would include them in the big signing bracket. Although they're not world-renowned players, if you're spending 40 million on someone, you're not going to go, oh yeah, that was just a minor signing.
Yeah. Who would you like?
I'd like Dembele, obviously.
Yeah.
But
realistically, I couldn't see it though.
I can't see it happening.
No. Okay. Who we got? Guna_love. Are the defensive enforcements enough? Who will start against Man City as goalkeeper, Cech or Leno?
Well, Emery has said that he's still yet to decide his number one. Cech's obviously played 45 minutes of pre-season. They're both in training together. I think the next few games, from the Bournemouth game, we had 12 days off, and then we've got 3 games in a very short space of time, and I think by then we'll probably know our answer.
Defensive enforcement enough?
I think if Mustafi goes, one more will come in. If he doesn't go, we'll stick with what we've got.
Just on Mustafi, what do you reckon, 20, 30 million?
We won't get 30 for him, I don't think.
And who do we...
gone down.
Well, who do we bring in for a Mustafi replacement?
No, I mean, there's a lot of talk if Juventus want him, and then you could look at maybe doing a deal with them with someone like Benatia or Kaglar's still sort of on the radar in the background somewhere. So there's options there.
Okay. Jonas82, will we see the Jeff breakthrough this season? And if not him, who do you think will?
I wouldn't be surprised if Jeff's one of the ones that's sold, to be honest. He looked very promising a few years ago. Has never really done it. Never really been given a chance, in all fairness, but I think he's been injured quite a bit. Went on loan last season, or the last in January. From what I know, I've not seen, but I don't think he really got a game there. He didn't suitably impress Angers. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's either sold or just is at Arsenal, but is just a kind of forgotten guy sort of thing. So I don't think so. In terms of breakthrough, I don't know if you're counting Ainsley in that. I would count last season as his breakthrough year. Eddie, I think will have to get more chances because we've got 2 senior strikers who it looks like they're going to be playing together with Aubameyang and Lacazette, whether Aubameyang plays wide or not. And then you look at your second string and your cup players, and you've got Welbeck and Nketiah as your strikers, and that's if Welbeck stays. So I think Eddie will get more of a chance. I'm not counting last year as his breakthrough because realistically he played an extra time and 5 minutes really of one game, and he scored 2 goals, and that's not a breakthrough season. That's maybe a breakout game where you've now learnt his name, which you didn't know before. But I think this year he'll get more opportunity.
I just thinking, and I know, look, we've seen a little bit of him, and then he went to Spain. Lucas Perez. I don't think you can have a breakout season when you're 30 years old. Yeah, I'm just thinking though, is he going to be that right winger that I don't know where else you put him. No, I mean that's one of it's the only place he could play, but I would imagine if he did, he would be in the second string of players. So he'd be your cup winger and your
you know what I mean? If you've got a few injuries.
Okay. Hakon Larson, he has a heap of questions here, but that's great, Hakon. We love your questions, mate. So, why do some fans overanalyze every single thing the club does or doesn't do, Tony?
I don't know, maybe it's something to do. You know what? There's no football to watch. We all love talking about football, and maybe rather than repeat the same subject, they look maybe too deep into things. Like, I love talking about football. Obviously, it's the reason I do this. But I tend to try and keep myself. I speak about transfers and I speak roughly on other things if asked. But I mainly try and focus on transfers and what's happening on the pitch, because for me that's where football takes place. I can't criticise anyone else for looking beyond that. Fair enough, but it's just not what I'm into. I guess it's just personal preference.
I don't really look at much stuff pre-season. I'm hopeless. I look at follow a couple of transfers, and that's about me. Other than that, I just type of sit and wait. I've give up watching that bloody American League. Fucking hell, that's bad. That's bad. If we play, and I was thinking about this question actually. If we play a 4-3-3 formation, what is the most important factor for success on the pitch, Tony?
Winning.
Hey, good point. You reckon it'll be a 4-3-3?
I did originally. I probably still stick by that. It's kind of what he played the other day. Again, as I said, I don't want to read too much into a friendly, but everyone that listens, and I know obviously Hakon does, that I've been saying since Emery was appointed, I would imagine we'll play a 4-3-3. And then to do that in the first friendly, I'm not saying backs up my opinion, but adds to my opinion. Had I not thought that before, that friendly wouldn't change my mind. If I thought we was going to play a 4-2-3-1 and then we played a 4-3-3, I wouldn't say, oh, that's what he's definitely going to play, because you never know. It's just a friendly and you've got to fit players into the team. But as I said, I've long since thought that it's what he's going to play.
So, question, I'm going to put you on the spot here for quickly. Give us your best side in that 4-3-3.
So, look, at the moment, you've got to go Bellerin, Nacho as the fullbacks. We've just discussed the number one. No one knows what he's going to do. Centre-backs, you'd imagine he signed Socrates for a reason, so you'd imagine it'll be him. Alongside him, we don't know if anyone's going to come in for Mustafi. If not, it looks like Chambers. For me, that's probably a bit too slow as a backline, but if that's what he wants to do, that's what he wants to do.
So you reckon Mustafi gets a spot over Chambers?
No, I don't know. I was saying if Mustafi goes, I would imagine it'd be the replacement. If Mustafi doesn't go, I would imagine it would probably be Chambers. But I think the defence is the hardest area of the pitch to call, because we've got so many similar, not in terms of the way they play, but you could put Chambers, Mavropanos and Holding all in the same bracket of slightly inexperienced. So it just depends what style he likes out of them. It also depends if Socrates plays on the right of the back two, of the centre-backs, which I imagine he will, then you've got to look at who's more comfortable on the left. Holding's always been playing on the left, has always played as the left centre-back. Mavropanos played on the left centre-back, and Chambers has played there, but he favours playing on the right. Even when Mavropanos and Holding played, and Chambers played together, or Holding and Chambers was always on the right. So...
just on Mavropanos though, he's a bit raw for me at the moment.
Look, it's hard to tell. He did impress. He obviously made the mistake against Leicester. As I said, all three of them, for me, you can put in a very similar bracket, and I'm not even saying they're the same level, but they're all three of them. You can say they've got something about them, but I'm not 100% sure. And I think that's a fair statement about Chambers, Mavropanos, and Holding. So, what one of them gets a place if Mustafi isn't there is completely personal preference, and I'm not going to pretend to know Emery's personal preference. In midfield, I think it'll be, as we stand at the moment, it'll be Xhaka, Torreira and Ramsey, and then I think it'll be Ozil from the right, but when I say right, I don't mean as a right winger, I mean very loosely from the right, which is essentially what he played last season anyway. Aubameyang left and Lacazette up top.
It's not a bad team, is it? That attack is brilliant. That defence is our worry. There's so many options.
Yeah, and I don't think any of them are outstanding.
No, and the Beast, we still. Well, you don't really rate him, do you?
I never have done.
No.
I don't think he's awful. I don't think he's good enough defensive.
I'm going to echo Gimli's thoughts, though, from last podcast is, how do you go from left-back Bundesliga team of the year to a player that just hasn't had success yet? So,
I think Luke Shaw was in the Premier League team of the year 4 years ago.
Oh, okay.
I think he works in McDonald's now.
Okay, Hakon Larsen. Should we have gone for Shaqiri? Absolutely is my opinion, but Tony will probably say no. 13 million for him is actually a bargain, better than Lucas and Welbeck.
Yes and no. I think if you do sign him, it means you don't sign anyone else, and I'd prefer better. I think we need a first team winger. I think my answer to this will be a lot better when the transfer window closes, because if we don't go on to sign anyone else, I'll say absolutely we missed out on him. If we did sign him and that meant we couldn't sign a bigger or better player because we'd already allocated that position, then you'd have to say it's a regret. So if we don't sign anyone else, I'll be disappointed that we missed out on him.
Yeah, no, fair statement. I'll just... what do we got? Ollie, he asked if Dembele or Nzonzi sign, how high do you think we'll end up in the league?
Look, it's impossible to ask because I don't know where we're going. I don't even know where I think we're going to come anyway. I personally don't think Nzonzi would add anything. Or he would add things, but he'd also take away things, so it kind of balances itself out. Dembele, again, he's a star player. He would make a difference. Is he the type of player that turns a team that are coming fourth into a team that are going to win the league? Probably not. I don't know how much everyone's seen of him. He is very raw. He clearly has a lot of ability, but when you compare him to, say, an Mbappe's complete. He makes the right decisions already. I think Mbappe in his head is 27 years old. He doesn't think like a youngster, whereas Dembele is raw and will make a lot of mistakes, and he's very frustrating at times. And there will be games where you look at him and think, how is this guy so highly rated? All he does is loses the ball. And then you watch him the next week and think, this kid's going to be the best player in the world. He's one of them type of guys. And I don't think guys like that are going to win you the league, because you never know what you're going to get. If you could get the best Dembele every week, then yes, you're gonna challenge for a title, I would imagine, as long as you can defend half well. But I don't think Dembele's at that stage in his career where he's ready to give his best or he's able to give his best every week.
No, I was going to say exactly the same on what you said. He's very raw.
Yeah, I think the thing is with Dembele that if he performs at his top level every week, he's in for Ballon d'Or nominations. He can be that good, but you don't get it every week. You get that once every 2 or 3 weeks, which is the issue with him. And when someone does unlock it, if they do, to get him to play that level every week, then there's a serious player there.
I watched a few Barcelona games with interest, and there's a couple of times you've seen Messi walk over to him and put his arm around him, have a little chat in his ear. But then you've also seen Messi. I've also seen him scream the house down, like, "And what the fuck are you doing?" type things. So,
yeah, I mean, to be honest, and I'm not saying this because we're linked with him, I don't think it's a good fit for Dembele. He's the type of player that gets the ball, runs at his player, and he will lose it sometimes, but he'll beat him sometimes, and he'll create attacks. Whereas Barcelona, pretty much everything goes through Messi, and with very good reason, because Messi's Messi.
Yeah.
But they don't want players that are going to be losing the ball quite a bit when going at defenders. They get very frustrated with him.
Well, Messi does, but he's trying to mould him as well.
They're used to Messi doing what Messi does. So it's nothing to do with it. It's not his fault, but they've signed a player of his style, and I don't think he overly suits their style. It was like when Guardiola signed Ibrahimovic. I'm not for a second saying Ibrahimovic was a bad player, because he's very good, but he just was never suited to Barcelona, and everyone knew that before he signed for Barcelona.
Just quickly though, you bring in a Dembele, what do you do with your Ozil? Your formation's out the window. I'm just looking at your formation and thinking,
but I think you'd probably have to change things and go 4-2-3-1. If we sign any winger, look, the reason I've picked the 4-3-3 is because we don't have any wingers.
Mm. So the minute we sign a winger, we go what?
Well, it depends who it is.
Yeah.
Is it if you sign a first team winger, someone that has to play every week, then you're going to have to change things.
Mm. Interesting times with that. We're going to know more shortly because the window shuts early.
3 weeks, I think, just over.
Yeah, and Zonzi, you don't. I think we already got on in Zonzi in. We've already touched on that. So, Hakon Larsen, have you ever noticed that many of the top class players or hype players tend to drive or look for a free kick when they are in trouble or in tight space with a small chance to get out?
Well, it's a way to keep the ball if they know they're going to get away with it. I say this all the time, and actually me and Schwinn were talking about it last night. My biggest grievance with Eden Hazard, because I think he's an exceptional player, is, especially in away games for Chelsea, he goes down for challenges that he doesn't have to. I'm not saying he dives, but he gets a touch and he could stay up and he could go on to cause havoc with the defence if he's running at them. But he tends to take the easy option. So he's been clipped, and if he goes down, it's a foul. He's not cheating. But if he stays up, he could cause so much damage. And I find at Stamford Bridge, he tends to stay up. But when they're away and things are not going his way and it's been one of them days, I think he goes down too easy. In one sense, you could say he's winning a free kick and they're keeping the ball. And when someone wins a free kick, unless it's on the edge of the area, when it's out wide in the non-dangerous positions that Hakon's talking about, you never remember it. But if they lose the ball, it becomes a talking point. I remember when he lost it there and they went on to do this and he keeps losing the ball. So maybe it's the safe option. I think this question is probably in relation to Griezmann going down for the first goal. It might not be. I might be putting words in Hakon's mouth. But then you've got to say from that, he was going down a blind alley, went down, and they scored from it. So you've got these players are so clever. It's instinct. They don't think about it. But they've got to think, what is the most dangerous in this position? If they're stuck in a space and they may lose the ball, or they're not going to get a cross in, so they can either do that or go down and get a free kick that they could potentially score from, that is the right decision. What we think of diving is neither here nor there. If they're getting the free kick, they're getting a positive result for their team. Because if the alternative is losing the ball, then go down. And it might be horrible to say and it might be cynical, but if they keep getting positive results out of it, they're not going to stop doing it. And I think whether Hakon was actually thinking of the Griezmann one or not, I think that's the perfect example. He was going nowhere. He went down. They got a free kick. They were now 1-0 up in the World Cup final.
I was thinking of Neymar when I seen the question.
Yeah. Look, I mean, for me, Neymar goes down way too easy. I think I don't want to discuss Neymar as the rule because I think he goes far and beyond what other players do.
Yeah. Hakon Larsen, are Arsenal going too far with all the videos regarding Emery at the training videos and changes? He gets the fans on board, but is it too much? I know it's all PR to get excited, but still.
We kind of discussed this last week. I like them, but as long as you recognise what they are, they show you a brief 7 minutes usually into what they want you to see of a training session. If they'd done them in the middle of the season, to be honest, I wouldn't care because we actually have football to look forward to. But because there's no football and there's no Arsenal, I enjoy watching them. What I don't like, and as obviously I spoke about it last week, is people saying like, "Oh, we never done this under Wenger," and it's like, well, you don't know because we didn't film videos under Wenger. I'm not saying we did. I'm not saying we didn't, but I just hate all the comparisons to the old system because, as I said, we don't know what went on the old system. So I like them, but I think you have to recognise what they are. And Hakon obviously does. He recognises their PR, which is exactly what they are.
Just PR. That's all it is. Getting excited for the season. We all are. Hakon, thoughts on Henry leaving Sky Sports? I've seen this earlier.
Yeah, he said he wants to get on with his coaching. He's obviously enjoyed being the assistant at the Euros, the World Cup, sorry. I don't know. I don't know where he's going to go. He's been linked with Arsenal. No idea.
I've seen a few people saying on Twitter that he, Arsenal assistant coach Emery. Who knows? He's obviously wanting to get into, more coaching and in manager roles. So,
I mean, leaving because before he Look, it was only he was coaching the youth teams, and Arsenal said to him, like, you can have the job, but you got to leave Sky Sports because we don't want someone that's employed by the club to be criticising the club when they're being a pundit. And as a pundit, you have to criticise the club at times. If they do something wrong, you have to criticise them. So you don't want him saying, oh, Mustafi, for example, has made a terrible error, and then coming in on the Monday morning and seeing Mustafi. It doesn't make sense. So Arsenal asked him to do that, and he obviously said no and chose Sky at the time. With him quitting that, I would imagine he's got a high-profile job. Obviously not as a manager, but I would imagine it's a high-profile club for him to go into. And they've said, look, the same rules apply. Like, you can't be going in. Whereas if it's a smaller club, they would probably settle and say, yeah, go on, do your bit on Sky, and you can still come in here. But I think with a high-profile club, there's no way they're going to let him go and criticise on a Sunday and then on a Monday morning be training them, because it's clearly a conflict of interest.
I just had a thought. New York City, New York City, they're looking for a manager, aren't they?
I don't think he'll go down the Man City route, but he could do. He worked under Guardiola, so who knows? I don't think he'll go anywhere as a manager. I don't actually think he has the licenses either. I may be wrong. I think he has. I may be wrong here. I think you need UEFA Pro license to be a manager. This is in Europe, and I think he has UEFA A license. Or if it's A license you need, he has the B license. I think he's one license below what you need to be a manager, but I could be wrong. He may have updated since I last looked at that.
No, I was just thinking that when Vieira, he left City, and anyway, can't be at Sky Sports when you're in New York, can you?
No, you certainly can't.
Okay, did anyone other than Pogba get the chance to hold the World Cup trophy?
I found it quite interesting that they gave it to Lloris to hold it up, and Giroud grabbed it instantly. Like, Giroud was standing next to Lloris, and by all accounts, apparently they're quite good friends, so you can understand him standing next to him at the presentation. But it was like, literally, I've never seen someone get their hands on it so quickly. I thought it was quite funny.
Did you see there's a video rolling around with was it Pogba taking the piss out of you fellas? Football's coming home or something?
No idea. I've not seen it now.
I've seen it there today. I think I just had a laugh. Chris Palmer, do you think Emery will use Laka and Aubameyang in tandem this season, or will it be one or the other? I think he thinks Aubameyang has so much more to offer as a striker than a left wing, but will it just be the case of shoehorning as many of the attacking players into the side as possible?
I think they'll both play with Aubameyang coming from the left. I'm not going to say playing on the left. The issue is, if he does play a free in midfield, which obviously I'm expecting, then the wingers have less defensive duty, because one of the three slides across to cover the fullback when the ball's on that side, and you still have two in the middle of the park. So usually you have two in the middle. So last year it was Xhaka and Ramsey, and if the other team's fullback attacks, then the winger has to go back with them. Whereas if you've got three in the middle, say the fullback attacks, one can go out with them and the other two stay in the middle, so you're still in the same situation. And if you're leaving three up the pitch, you're less likely to get the other team's fullback attack anyway, because they're worried of what's going to come the other way. That's the theory behind it. So I think Aubameyang will play from the left, but don't expect it to be how it has been in previous years, where the left winger has to track back.
Who obviously Aubameyang's probably the better than in that position than Lacazette anyway, wouldn't he?
Look, I mean, I would prefer Aubameyang playing straight through the middle, but with our current squad, I can see the reason why you're playing both of them, because Aubameyang still gets a hell of a lot of goals from the left anyway, and it gives us an actual 9. Whereas if you play Aubameyang through the centre, where he's still going to get you a hell of a lot of goals, who'd you play on the left? Mickey, maybe? But then, I don't know, does that have the cutting edge? If you've got Mickey and Ozil, are they too similar? Are they quick enough? Are they good enough at the high press?
I forgot about Mkhitaryan.
Yeah, so I think him and Ozil may be too similar, and they probably don't contribute to the press as well that Emery said he wants to play. He wants to press high. And if you've got Mickey and Ozil, I probably don't think it's as effective. So I think, although it is putting square pegs in round holes, I think that having Aubameyang on the left and Lacazette through the middle works better than any other option we have at the moment. At the moment being obviously the key point.
Yep. Pete, he asks, how's our homegrown quota looking? This comes up every window, this one.
Yeah, I think we're actually a bit light. Obviously letting Jack go. Signing, and we've signed no one English. But you don't have to register players who have been in the country for 3 years under the age of 1. But you can register them if you want. It's kind of seen as a wasted space.
Just what was the age? What was the age again? What was the age again? Because you broke up then.
Under 21 years old, they have to have been in the country for 3 years. Okay. So, for example, Cesc Fabregas is homegrown. Or they just English are the two criteria.
Okay.
So, but you don't have to. So that's what counts as homegrown. You don't have to register under 21s, but you can do, unless that's changed. Because I've not seen anyone agree with me on this, and I've not seen anyone disagree either. But I've not seen anyone else say this. It definitely used to be the case. So what you can do is, if you're running low on homegrown players, you can register a Reece Nelson. You don't need to. So it's kind of seen as a wasted space if you do. But to get the homegrown quota, if we can't get it any other way, then you can just register them players. The likes of Reece Nelson, Ainsley Maitland-Niles, Eddie Nketiah, basically anyone under 21.
And you don't have to play them. There's no,
you don't have to play them. But it's basically, you can name a 25-man squad without any of them guys in, and they're still allowed to play. Whereas if you name them in your 25-man squad, it's kind of seen as wasting a space because you don't need to.
Okay. So you think we're a bit light?
On the homegrown, I think we're one short. It depends. If the likes of Jenko go, which obviously we're all expecting.
Okay.
He obviously wasn't on our quota last year either, because I think last year we met the quota exactly, and then since then we've lost Jack.
Right. Okay. Hakon Larson, what words do you hate most regarding transfers? Any other than linked, soon, done deal, likely, report, or very close?
See, I pretty much ignored them all apart from done, which I had a 10-minute rant about it last week. I don't think many people heard it because they were too fascinated on what we'd said about other people. But for me, I just can't look past done, because if I hear reports, I just automatically think, oh, someone's made it up. But just when I see done, it's like someone's confirming something. And obviously it really grates on me. For me, it's done. We're linked with Dembele, and it soon could be done. Likely, I'm fucking over it. Done for me. Yeah, I take them with a pinch of salt. I'm just like, I don't care. Like I know that's paper talk.
When I get done, I get excited.
Yeah, when people say done, you think it's done. Like that's what the word means.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Done. Chris, are you worried about the lack of English players being scouted by Sven, or do you think it is just a matter of time before we do? I know we got the Sutherland prospect, but more looking for 18 to 22-year-olds. Who's a Sutherland prospect?
Oh, we signed a 16-year-old striker. I can't remember his name from Sunderland.
Okay.
But Sam Greenwood, maybe? Something like that. Look, we won the under-23s last year with a majorly English team. There was obviously some foreigners in it. I say foreigners, obviously, because I'm English. It's not. But yeah, so I think there's probably a reason he's not looking too much at them. They're either going to be, if they're prospects, they're going to be at big clubs anyway, so they're going to be really hard to prize away. And we've got some of the best in. Obviously, Reece is very highly rated. Maitland-Niles is going to be a first-team player. Willock, I'm a bit 50-50 on. Eddie Nketiah is very highly rated. The only one I would actually want to, there's two I'd probably want to sign. And they'd both cost a fortune. Ryan Sessegnon would cost a crazy amount. And Jadon Sancho, who I don't think would be available and would cost probably quite a lot. And also is a first-team player at Dortmund, and he wouldn't be at Arsenal. So I'm not worried about that at all. And it's not... I know he didn't do it for Arsenal, but it's not like Sven ignores the English market because he did sign Jadon Sancho. It just wasn't for Arsenal.
Oh, did he? Oh, he made that sign for Dortmund, did he?
Yeah.
There you go. Okay. Hakan Larson, is there a better centre midfield than Modric?
Probably not, no. I'm a huge Modric fan, I've said it. I'm not jumping on the World Cup bandwagon. I've said it on here for as long as I can remember. No, I don't think there is.
Okay.
There's going to be more all-round players. There's players that can do more, but for what he does, there's nobody better. In my opinion.
Yeah, I'm just thinking. No, I won't say it. Did you guys notice that Torreira got pulled out of position often during the World Cup? He did an amazing job, don't get me wrong, but there was many times against Portugal when he left his position when Uruguay was sitting deep to chase the ball, leaving a lot of space behind him. I did notice it.
I think it was his job to stop Cristiano Ronaldo getting a direct run at the back line, because as good as Godin and Jimenez are, and for me Godin is probably the best centre-back in the world, he's not quick. So I think he was used more in that game instead of being a screen, a total screen. I think it was his job to pretty much just screen Cristiano Ronaldo. And obviously the game was a while ago now, but from the top of my head, Ronaldo done pretty much nothing.
No.
One thing I will say, and because it annoys me, and it annoyed me, Tottenham fans done it last year. There's a video going around with, look how Torreira handled Cristiano Ronaldo, and it shows him fouling him. Shut up. I can foul Cristiano Ronaldo. Like, anyone can foul Cristiano Ronaldo. That I really rate Lucas Torreira, but don't say I handled him because there's a video of him going around fouling someone. Like, come off it.
Actually, I did see that video. Yeah, well, I looked at that and I thought exactly the same. It's a bit of a foul.
There was when Tottenham signed Davinson Sanchez, and it annoyed me more because there was Tottenham fans I know that didn't know who he was, Davinson Sanchez. I'd seen a little bit of him before, and he fouled. There was a video of Colombia playing Brazil, and I think it was Marcelo. It might have been Dani Alves. It was one of the fullbacks, and Sanchez ran across and absolutely smashed him. And these Tottenham fans, especially ones that didn't know who Davinson Sanchez was, were, look how strong he was. He completely handled and said much. And I'm thinking, give it a rest. Like, yeah, he's fouled him. Anyone could foul anyone. Like, shut up.
Yeah, no, there was another one floating around with Messi. Somebody was bossing. They were saying, I can't remember what it was. Bossing Messi around. I thought, for fuck's sake. Have you ever had a discussion? He's still on Hakan Larson. Have you ever had a discussion with other fans and you feel like you understand players and tactics more than the other person?
All the time. This may sound big-headed, but literally all the time. Especially, you get a lot of match-going fans that pretty much don't know anything about football, and I kind of get annoyed talking to them because they don't know what they're watching. You also get non-match-going fans that are the same, but obviously I'm at games, so I talk to people. But all the time, I feel like, this may sound arrogant, but I feel like having worked in the game and having a lot of friends that are players, I have a knowledge from watching the game, but then I also have a knowledge of how the players think in games. So I can talk about what I'm seeing, but I can also know what the players are thinking to an extent. So for me, yeah, all the time. And I'm not trying to be arrogant and saying I know more about football than this person and that person, but a lot of the time, that is genuinely how I feel. That doesn't mean I can't have a conversation with them, and that doesn't mean that they won't have points that I haven't picked up on or I haven't noticed, and they won't give me something to think about. But on the whole, I feel like my knowledge of football is deeper than a lot of people's. I don't mean, look, someone's going to come on and say, but you didn't know about such and such in League 2 or something like that. And that's not what I mean. Like, when there's people that know Stevenage players much better than me, but I think in terms of tactics and how players are thinking and what I'm watching, I feel like I build a very good picture of that, and not many people I speak to do.
I just sit here and listen to you and Schwinn now. It's brilliant. That's my job. Very easy. In
all fairness to Schwinn, I feel like he has a very good football knowledge as well. But I don't know how much he said on this, but he's played to quite a decent standard, so you kind of have to understand a bit.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So
you're useless. You don't understand anything.
I don't know a thing. I'm hopeless. That's why I just talk to you boys each week. Okay. What's his name? Savesh. I hope I got that right. Why are people not talking about Leon Bailey as a winger option? Would be cheaper than others. We're looking. Just Leon Bailey. Okay. Looking at, and because of his age, he won't even ask for a starting spot in the team. Plus, Arsenal will be an upgrade for him over Bayer.
I'm not sure, to be honest. From what I've seen of Bailey, I like him, but I would. It's a very difficult one because I'd want to see him in another year elsewhere. Because at the moment he's shown a hell of a lot of pace. I would want to know what he's like when people don't allow him to use that pace. And the issue is, if you give him another year and he proves himself, his value skyrockets and everyone wants to look at him. So I think it would be taking a chance, a very big chance. But I do like Bailey. So I somewhat agree with the question. But, it is a very difficult position.
When he come in, his name was thrown about, a couple of years ago. I haven't heard for a while. I've totally forgot about him, actually.
He had he had a spell, maybe a month, I think it was in and around January, where he was electric. I think he scored a lot of goals. He scored one really eye-catching goal where he gave the defender about a 20-yard head start and still beat him to the ball easily. And I think a lot of people realised who he was then. As I said, it's a difficult one because he's one of them. A lot of clubs will be looking at him but thinking, I'll give it one more year and see how he copes. But as I said, the danger is if he does cope well in that year, then his value is going to be crazy. Yeah.
Okay. Paul Martin, is Nacho going to be sold? And if so, can we play with 10 men each game instead of starting Klosenak?
The reports is strange because Nacho's always seemed really happy and seemed to love Arsenal, but the reports are that not he's pushing for it, but he wouldn't mind going back to Spain. He's open to it. And with his age, if someone is open to it, then I wouldn't be surprised if Arsenal get rid of him. That's the reports. I don't know how true the reports are. I don't think starting with 10 men would be a bad idea as much as a good idea. Sorry, as much as I don't rate Kolasinac. I would rather have 11 than 10. And look, let's hope Kolasinac can find the form he found the first 5-6 games of the season when he looked very good.
Yeah. Oh, look, I hope he has that. It wouldn't be the breakout season, but I hope he does something and continues a strong season all year. Geez, you got to love our listeners though. Paul, he's going along. Also, will the podcast be 5 hours long so you can answer all Hackon Larson's questions? Have a good day, boys. Or lads. Command Guna, I think. Can you give your first impression of our fringe players after the first pre-season game? So obviously he's talking about Willock, Jenkins. Also your thoughts on Perez and Papa. The latter not looking that great, but I guess too soon to get worried.
Yeah, I said this earlier. I thought Socrates looked probably one of our worst players, but I'm not going to look too deep into that at the moment. Willock, it's just Willock. He never really does anything. He never really impresses. He never really looks awful. Maitland-Niles looked good. He looked ready. He looked strong. He always looks fast. Said Rose Smith looked good. I wouldn't count him as a fringe player yet, but he looked good. Perez, buzzed about, got an assist, and he looked decent. Again, look, you're never going to watch that game and think, we've got to keep this guy. On the flip side, you shouldn't look at it, and if he was awful, you shouldn't say, we've definitely got to sell him. You just got to take it for what it is. It's the first pre-season friendly against a team 5 or 6 or 4 leagues below us.
Yeah, okay. J.E., I think, or Jeff. Don't you think that it's quite underrated that Arsenal has appointed the number one performance expert, Darren Burgess? Port Adelaide became the most fittest team in the AFL under his supervision. You must watch AFL. We really lacked fitness last season. It was evident in the second match against Atletico.
Yeah, I mean, fitness is difficult. It's all subjective to how much you played, and it also depends on the person. Some people, like Croatia, really thrived on playing every 2 or 3 days and playing extra time. The rumour is that Croatia didn't train in the last few weeks of the World Cup, and it meant by the time so they played, and then they done warm downs, and then they played again, pretty much. I don't know how true that is. It happened to Chelsea a few years ago, and it really suited them because the players were always well up for it. They didn't need to be. They were always match ready. So it's subjective to the group and the person as well. With AFL, I'd imagine. I mean, they get hit a lot more, don't they, than you do in football. So I'd imagine a lot of the recovery comes down to that. Whereas football, I mean, yeah, they do take contact, but nowhere near as much. Look, let's hope it's a good thing. I can only hope it's a good thing. I can't say it's definitely going to be a good thing. I hope it is.
Yeah, look, I don't know. I don't know much about, Darren Burgess and fitness coaches and stuff, but he seems to. I think he was at Liverpool as well for a couple of years. So he
was
is
somewhere, and then he went to the AFL.
Yeah, and then I think he was at Liverpool before he went to the AFL. So he knows his shit. I'm not worried. I think he'll be fine. Yeah.
I'm not worried, but I'm saying I don't know if it's going to improve us. I don't know. I'm not saying he won't.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, no. That's what I say. I don't know much about fitness people and stuff. So, okay. G also asked, which team in order would you want us to really humiliate this season? Now he's listed his as Man United because Lingard's dancing irks him. Manchester City 3-0 defeat twice. Spurs, they always think it's a trophy when they beat us. And Liverpool 4-0 defeat was gutty.
All of them. Look, I don't favour beating one team over another, really. When you're in the ground, the Tottenham games always feel different. They have a different feeling in the ground. There is no two ways about it. So if you were saying you could only win one of them, and it may sound as bad because obviously we say, Tottenham fans act like they won a trophy. So for me to say I'd prefer to beat them over the others probably does sound a bit bad, but it does have that different feeling when you're in the ground, both home and away. But I want to beat all of them. I'd rather beat them all by 1 than beat one of them by 6 and then draw the others or whatever.
Yeah, obviously, Spurs is one that we also enjoyed beating, but I would love to, a 6-0 defeat over Manchester United. Could you imagine Jose's face? Mourinho, he'd be like, you cunt. Okay, do you see Maitland-Niles taking... Gee, I don't believe I'm reading this question. Do you see Maitland-Niles taking Xhaka's place in the starting 11 against Liverpool, Manchester City, Spurs, Man United and Chelsea? He says, I do because Niles has pace, which Xhaka lacks, and he has great ability on the ball than El Nani.
I mean, no, I don't see it. Yes, he's quicker than Xhaka, and he's more progressive than El Neni. He's not as safe, and sometimes you need safe. But look, for me, I think in our most solid team would be probably, as if we are going to play a free, Torreira, Xhaka, Ramsey. And I don't think you've got a team for a big game. And I think Maitland-Niles is probably better when he has more space to work in, and he can beat a man and whatnot. So for me, I wouldn't be looking at it to play him in the just in the big games.
I know.
But it could be a case if he works his way into the team. To be honest, he looked so good at times last year, but I don't think it's a case of we've got a big game, we play him because his running power is better, because you've got Ramsey for the box to box. And I think people often compare Xhaka to Maitland-Niles, but I think in terms of he's going to be more of our box-to-box, our engine player, because Maitland-Niles can run. And I think if you have him and Ramsey together, you're going to end up leaving yourself as exposed as we was last year.
No, well, that's what I was just about to say. Like, where's it coming from if you don't have Xhaka on the field? Like, I know I think we've got Man City up first, and then obviously Chelsea are like third game in or something like that, aren't they?
Yeah.
So you got to go Granit Xhaka to start with. But in saying that, we don't know what Emery's going to do with get the best out of these players. I think
you don't even know if Torreira's going to be back.
Yeah,
he's going to be back. Sorry, we don't know how fit he's going to be.
Yeah, so look, obviously it's for the reasons you just said. Granit Xhaka's got to start. You can't have two pacey midfielders or two quick midfielders dominating the possession, because you leave yourself exposed, as you said. So.
Look, there might be a time when that works. If we're playing a lesser team and he still wants to play a 4-3-3, there may be a time where you go Torreira and you drop Xhaka and go for the two players that are going to affect the game higher up the pitch. There will be times when Xhaka's not right for the game, and as much as you don't want to hear that, but I don't think big games are that.
Oh, look, I wouldn't mind not a replacement for Xhaka, but I wouldn't mind him to see him not starting so many games. Keep in mind, he played, I think, close to 40-something games last season.
I would imagine more, to be honest.
That's like there was no, and I think it was him and Bellerin.
Yeah.
Okay, David, most certainly. Question 1 out of 2. He's got 2 questions. Can fans be happy for ex-Arsenal players like Giroud when they achieve something and still be loyal to the club? Saw an idiot tweet at Arsenal for congratulating Giroud.
Well, I'm happy for Giroud. Maybe I'm an idiot as well. And from the sounds of the question, he's happy for Giroud.
I'm happy.
So I'd imagine the vast majority are that the guy gave his all for our club, and as long as it's not against us, I wish him all the best. And it's not every player we like that with, but he's one of them. He wore his heart on his sleeve. He clearly loved being at Arsenal. He had a good relationship with the fans, especially match going. I know he gets a lot of abuse on Twitter sometimes, but on the whole, he had a good relationship with fans. He always tried his heart out. His ability was sometimes questionable, but there's nothing he can do about that. His ability is his ability. If we could all change our ability, we'd all be professional footballers. So all you can do is try and maximise your ability and try your hardest, and Giroud certainly done that. So as long as it doesn't affect Arsenal, I wish him all the best. I wanted Chelsea to win the FA Cup final, 1 because I hate Man United, and 2 because Olivier Giroud was playing. Had they not had Giroud, I probably still would have wanted to win him, but only slightly because I hate both the clubs. But yeah, as long as it has no effect on Arsenal, I want Giroud to do well. Okay,
why do so many fans get offended? Please don't stop giving your honest banter.
Yeah, I don't know. Some people take things to heart, some don't. That's it. I don't know. I don't really know how to answer that. I'm not going to stop. Look, I come on here for fun. I speak about things I want to speak about, and I speak my mind. I've always been honest on here. I'm not going to change that. And some people will like it, and some people won't.
Yeah.
If you don't like it, then that's on you, not me.
We don't put a gun to your head and say you have to listen.
No, we might have a few more listeners if we did. But
Hakon Larson, lucky last question. He had to get one in, didn't he? Not Arsenal related. Oh, well, that's fucking shit. Okay. But imagine PSG right now. Yep. Mbappe, World Cup winner, and Neymar, World Cup diving cunt rolling bitch. Will Neymar be looking to leave with all the excitement around Mbappe? Neymar will not be happy to be number 2 at PSG or at any other club.
Me and Schwinn literally had this conversation last night, and you wasn't really talking, but I'm assuming you've read it. You're in the WhatsApp group. And I said to Schwinn, I'll be amazed. Well, not amazed. I'll be surprised if they're both at PSG at the start of the season. And he was really shocked. And it's pretty much for the exact reasons that Hakon just said. I don't know which one of them will go, but there's already rumours that we know we know Neymar pretty much manages the club and does what he wants. And there's rumours that him and Mbappe have fallen out over his attitude. And that's not going to get any easier now. Mbappe's become a much bigger star than he was a month ago. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if one of them goes. And look, if I said this, if I was Real Madrid and I'm looking to replace Ronaldo, I'm not saying in terms of player, but in terms of star quality and ability, the potential, everything, I'd be chucking everything at Mbappe.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think none of them will go this window. I think
it's possible.
I think they'll both stay. Neymar one more season at PSG, and I don't think PSG. I think they'd be mad to let Mbappe go.
The issue with one more year is now's the time, because Ronaldo's gone now. There's only one club that's an option. And if that one club, being Real Madrid, replaces Ronaldo this summer with whoever, what's available next year?
Well,
he's not going to go back to...
Well, who's available this year if you rule out Neymar and Mbappe out of the mix? Harry Kane?
But Kane, Lewandowski, Hazard.
Yeah, Lewandowski would probably be the one that I would think. But I know no. I'm no fucking in the know. But I would think he'd be the easiest to get at the moment, wouldn't he?
I think Hazard probably would be.
But does Hazard offer you the goals that to replace Ronaldo?
This is what I said yesterday, that Hazard, while he's an exceptional player, I still think you probably have to sign one other. But saying that, if you sign any of them apart from Neymar or Mbappe, you probably have to sign two of them.
Because, and then Neymar stays next year because you think if they sign him, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I think the issue is, I would agree with you that next year is the time, but now is the time that the buyers are available. And when you've only got one buyer, which you have in world football, the two options are Real Madrid or Barcelona. Barcelona are not an option. So you've got one buyer, and they are ready to buy now.
Hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. But PSG ready to sell?
It depends how happy the players are. They're going to make a huge profit on whoever it is. It'll be a world record transfer. And if the player's not happy, it depends if they think they can win the Champions League. If PSG don't sign anyone else, this may sound very stupid. If they don't sign anyone else, I think they'll be open to letting one of them go, because they've seen they were well short of winning the Champions League. Signing Buffon on a free is not enough to make them a Champions League winner. So they'll probably think we're going to win the French League and not win the Champions League anyway, whether we keep these players or not. So they'll probably sell one of them. Whereas if they go big with a signing again, I don't know who, if they make a big signing, that's their intent to try and win the Champions League, which means they'll want to keep all of their other players. There is also a financial fair play aspect as well.
Yeah, what is the story with that?
I don't know. I mean, they must be well over it, but they structure their deals in such a way. I think technically Neymar doesn't even belong to them. He belongs to Qatar or whatever country it is that owns PSG, and they loan him for £1 million a week or some stupidness. It's all ways of getting around financial fair play, but there's got to be a time when an issue comes into it. It's a very interesting one at the moment, just because Real Madrid are available now, and look, Real Madrid are very much known for getting what Real Madrid want and not hurting and not caring who they hurt in the process. I was listening to an interview a couple of days ago about Real Madrid, and they said in Spain there's not even, obviously I'm in Spain now, there's not even uproar about them nicking the Spain manager 2 days before the tournament started, because it's just what Real Madrid do. They were saying people would be going mad if it was anyone else, including Barcelona, but Real Madrid is just known. It's like, they're going to be dickheads, but they'll get what they want. And it's just accepted because they do it so often.
Interesting. Because I was listening to another podcast that was actually the Sky Transfer Talk podcast, and they were talking there that if Real Madrid go for Hazard, Barcelona may also be interested as well. So,
I don't see where and why.
No, well, type it through me, because I thought, well, where does he fit? Is it more of a just...
Well, I mean, that would mean, and I'm not trying to link him with Arsenal, but that would 100% mean Dembele's gone.
Yeah.
Because obviously they've just signed Coutinho for mega money. I know people are going to say, they've got a gap now because they've sold Paulinho again, but they've signed another Brazilian midfielder. So you'd imagine that space is where that's taken up. I can't see it. I can't see it at all. To be honest, I might be wrong.
I was type of thinking whether it's just a fuck you, like you're not having him for Barcelona, like because Barcelona know that Real Madrid are going to struggle, replacing Ronaldo with the goals. So okay, we're going to sign a Hazard and 50, 60 million. Well, we'll make you pay 80 million for it.
But I mean,
I don't know.
I've spoke to a few people about this, and it's going off topic. I have no idea what Hazard's worth, because for me he's better than Coutinho, and Coutinho went for 130 million.
Yeah.
But then he kind of wants out of Chelsea. They're in the Europa League, but I just don't see him as a 170 million pound player.
No,
I don't know why.
And
I love him. I really, really rate him, but it's a very weird one. I don't know. I wouldn't even know where to start. What's your opening offer for an Eden Hazard? I don't know. It's a very tough one.
Yeah, I thought 60 to 70, but obviously...
I won't even touch the sites.
Yeah, no. Don't know. have a look at that transfer market.
Not that financials are an issue for Real Madrid, but you've got to remember, they've only got 100 million in for Ronaldo. So are they going to want to go and spend 50 million more on a Hazard who is not as effective, or on anyone apart from Mbappe and Neymar who isn't as effective? I don't know. It's a very interesting situation.
What's the Lewandowski worth?
I don't know.
Don't know. 200?
For me, no. But transfer fees are so subjective. It's like I was saying to... Sorry, I forgot his name. The guy that was in Minnesota that asked the question on our live callers. Transfer fees and Chibi, sorry. Their transfer fees are now more about what the player's worth to the club, whereas before every player had a value and they were linked. So if one player was worth something and someone was a little bit better, they were worth a little bit more. But the money in football now seems to make it that every player's not. It's not based on their ability. It's based on their value to their current club.
Mm-hmm. So yeah.
It just makes everything so messy. Because look, for me, based on what we've seen, and I know it's only based on a World Cup, but Torreira's not a 20. No, I mean he's worth a lot more. He's not a 25 million pound player. He's worth a hell of a lot more based on what we've seen. But then you look at where he's come from and whatnot, and it bases his value just around on his situation, not on his ability. And I think in years gone by, everything was based on ability, but now a transfer fee is based on so much more than just how good you are at football.
Is there a sneaky signer that they can that we're not thinking of? Somebody else apart from the obvious of Mbappe, Neymar?
Well, I think that you've got to I don't mean it in terms of actual number of shirts sold, but you've got to replace the shirt sales. Not in terms of value. I mean, you've got to have a star name. You're Real Madrid. Do you know what I mean? You have to have a big name. And I even question if Hazard falls into that big name bracket or not. Forget ability. They need a superstar. And so the reason I don't see a sneaky sign-in is if they sign someone that's good but not a superstar, I don't think that fits.
Well, for me, a sneaky signing's Harry Kane, but he's not. I think he's. And I'll probably get in a bit of shit from a couple of Arsenal supporters here. He is probably one of the best top maybe 3 or 4 strikers that there is in football today.
Completely agree with you.
But is he that name that's going to sell your shirts?
Possibly, because he's done it in the Premier League. Because as much as the Premier League always claims to be the best league in the world, and La Liga fans will disagree with it, but there's that respect between the two. If someone's done it in the Premier League, they want to see if they can do it in Spain and vice versa. So Kane maybe is that shirt seller. He also scored against Real Madrid this year, I think. I'm pretty sure he scored when they beat them. Yeah, he scored.
Yeah, he did.
No, sorry. Yeah. So I think Kane probably, yes. This is what an issue. There's so much to sign for Real Madrid. There's so many important factors, and unfortunately, as I said, with the way football is now, it's not only ability.
As a Premier League, would you like, and we're Arsenal fans, but would you like to see Harry Kane go, or you'd like to see him in the Premier League still?
I'd love to see him go. I'll drive him if he wants.
The only reason I asked that because you often hear, you know, when obviously Ronaldo signed and the boys from our mates from Italian Fan TV, they're excited just to have him in the Serie A.
Yeah, the Italian league's weird though. It's so weird. But no, I don't actually mean this disrespectfully, but I saw fans of other clubs moaning that Torreira was going out of the league.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Like, look, the Premier League's always going to be marketable. Whoever does the PR for the Premier League's an absolute genius. But I want the Premier League to be as weak as possible so Arsenal can win
it. we got another fucking option, haven't we? Yeah, I know what you're saying.
It's so weird the way, but and if you look at Italians, it's like, okay, there is examples, but Bonucci going from Juventus to AC Milan, that would never happen in England, or very, very rarely. In Italy, it happens all the time. Well, the best players go from one Italian.
He just went from Rome to bloody Inter.
Yeah, it's just the Italian league is. I don't want to say weird. It's different. It's like a rule on its own. Where the players are just happy to move, or the clubs are happy to sell to each other, and they want the best for the league. Whereas here, we just want selling clubs want to get the most money, but they also don't want to put themselves at the. Like, you see how mad we go as Arsenal fans when we lost the players to City and United. Obviously, Sanchez, Van Persie, Adebayor, Toure, Clichy. God, it feels like a long list. But we're gutted when they go to rivals. When Alex Song went, and to an extent when Fabregas went. We cared because we lost good players, but we wasn't like really annoyed about it. Whereas with Nasri, like, we were fuming, and the same with Adebayor, and the same with Van Persie. And in Italy, that just doesn't seem to exist. It's like, okay, they've gone whatever.
Yeah.
Like, at least they're still in the league. They're happy.
Yeah, they're happy in the league. Yeah.
And in England, it's the exact opposite. It's like, look, Fabregas gets an easy ride from Arsenal fans. He still gets clapped at the Emirates. Nasri, he'd get booted out of the Emirates. and the only difference is Nasri actually behaved better. But the difference is Nasri went to a rival and Fabregas didn't. But whereas in Italy, they'd probably do it the other way around. They'd boo Fabregas for leaving the country and making their league weaker. It's weird.
Yeah. No, and I've heard it this week that, you know, Napoli fans I've spoke to, and Inter fans and Milan fans, and we're talking about it, getting the boys from the Italian Fan TV on to have a yak to them, because they are just happy that Ronaldo has come to the Serie A.
Yeah, I don't get it.
As a Roma fan, as a Roma fan, I'm fucking quite shit myself. But anyway.
Yeah, it's strange. I don't understand it.
Okay, well, that's about it, eh? That's a wrap. You happy?
Yeah.
Yep. Schwinn will hopefully be back. Where's E2 and hopefully be back with us next week?
Yeah, he's in South Africa with his 1 megabyte per year Wi-Fi, so his quality may not be the best.
For a bloke who can cruise around on first-class aeroplanes, but fucking shit internet in fucking...
Yeah, if we criticise it enough, he'll get a shuttle to the Wi-Fi space station and have 1 million gigabytes per second.
Anyway, thank you for listening. Thank you for downloading. You've been listening to the Clock and Talk, an Arsenal podcast. Tez and Tony, we're out, and Schwinn will be back next week. See ya.
It's not coming home.